February 14. 1543. The Parliament of Paris caused the institutions Religionis Christian of Calvin to be publicly burned at Paris. 1554. Brett, the commander of the London train bands with 58 others, hanged for joining with Sir Thos, Wyatt and his Kentish men, who tried to resist the Spanish influence. 1623. The floor of Blackfriars Church broke down while the people were at Mass, killing 100. 1668. Louis XIV took Dole, in Franche Compte. 1696. English assassination plot to favor the interests of James II, discovered by Pendergrass. 1713. Anthony Ashley Cooper, Earl of Shaftsbury, and author of the Characteristics, died. He was grandson of the Earl who figured so conspicuously in the reign of Charles II, and possessed a spirit of liberty which displayed itself in his political character throughout his life, and by which he uniformly directed his conduct on all occasions. 1713. William Harrison, an elegant English poet, died. 1737. Charles Talbot, an eminent English statesman and chancellor, died. 1756. 300 recruits sailed from New York for the army, under the command of Governor Shirley, quartered at Albany, the river being free of ice. 1760. Isaac Hawkins Brown died. One of the most popular productions of this ingenious poet is his pipe of tobacco, in imitation of Cibber, Ambrose, Phillips, Thompson, Young, Pope and Swift, who were all living. 1762. Martinique and the other Caribbee Islands delivered up to the British under Monckton and Rodney, by the French governor, M. de la Touche. The entire reduction of Martinique was effected with the loss of 107 killed and 150 wounded. The French lost 1,000 of their best men. Before its reduction the island could raise 10,000 white inhabitants fit to bear arms and 40,000 Negroes. 1764. Peter Ristot died, an advocate at Paris, distinguished for his learning and integrity. 1764. Mr. Williams, a printer, was put in the pillory for republishing the North Briton, No. 45, at London, but the spectators made a contribution for him of over 200 guineas. 1779. James Cook, the English navigator, killed by the natives of Oahe. He was born 1728, of indigent parentage. Entered the Royal Navy in 1755. Had the command of a vessel sent against Quebec 1759, after the capture of which he assisted at the taking of Newfoundland, after making several voyages for scientific purposes. He sailed in 1776 on his grand enterprise for the discovery of a Northwest Passage, during which he met his fate. 1779. Battle of Cherokee Ford, in which Col. Pickens attacked and defeated a body of Tories, killed 39 of them and their leader, Col. Boyd, and took about 70 prisoners. Of the last 5 only were executed. Pickens lost 9 killed. 1780. William Blackstone died. He was born in London, 1723. And was called to the bar 1746. In 1765 he published the first volume of his Commentaries on the Laws of England, a production by which his name will descend to all posterity. His private character is said to have been exceedingly mild and amiable, and he was throughout life assiduously addicted to business. 1780. A Russian manifesto announced the coalition called the Armed Neutrality, formed on the basis that free trade makes free goods. 1781. The American army under Jim Green, which had continued to retreat since the Battle of the Cowpens, crossed the Dan, leaving the whole of North Carolina in the hands of the enemy. So close was the pursuit, that the van of the British reached the river, as the rear of the Continentals had crossed, after a march of 40 miles that day. 1782. The island of Nevis surrendered to the French, under Pendergrass. 1785. Qianlong, Emperor of China, made a feast for the ancients of his kingdom. Those who had attained 100 years, received 50 bushels of rice and 2 pieces of silk. Those who had reached 90 years, received 30 bushels rice and 2 pieces of inferior silk, and others in the same proportion, down to 50 years. Amount, were also made to the poor throughout the empire. He likewise exempted all the people from taxes that year, which was the 50th of his reign. On the occasion of the feast, 3,000 aged men of quality sat down to it, and the emperor sat at the head of the table to do the honors. 1793. Brass Crosby died. He rose from a humble attorney to be Lord Mayor of London, being implicated in some difficulties with the printers, in 1771, and stoutly avowing his partialities, he was sent to the Tower, notwithstanding the dignity of his office. But his liberation was attended with great marks of respect and attention from the citizens. 1797. Action between the Spanish fleet of 27 sail and 12 frigates, Admiral Langara, off St. Vincent, and the British under Admiral Jervis, 15 ships and 6 frigates. 4 of the Spanish ships were captured, 2 of 112 guns each, and the remainder completely defeated. British loss, 300 killed and wounded. Spanish loss 603. 1808. John Dickinson, an American political writer, died. He practiced law in Philadelphia until 1765, was deputed to attend the first Congress at New York, and prepare the draft of the bold resolutions of that Congress. He opposed the Declaration of Independence, believing that compromise was still practicable, but soon after entered into it with ardor. His public services were eminent. 1814. Battle of Auchem, between the French and Russians, in which the latter were defeated. At 8 in the evening Marmont attacked and defeated the Russians at Thos, who lost 9 cannon and 1,300 men killed. 1831. Insurrection at Paris in consequence of an attempt by the priests to celebrate a funeral mass for the Duc de Berry. Several churches were destroyed or injured. 1831. Guerrero, ex-president of Mexico, shot. 1834. John Shore, Lord Tynemouth, died, aged 82. He went to India in his youth, in the service of the East India Company, and succeeded Lord Cornwallis as governor there. He returned to England 1798, and on the formation of the British and Foreign Bible Society, he was chosen the first president, and held the office during life. 1843. Mr. John Martin, aged 105, died at Augusta, Georgia. He came with a company of salt buyers to Georgia, under the direction of Oglethorpe. 1852. Drive Ray, the Arctic explorer, arrived at St. Paul, Minnesota, having returned from a search for Sir John Franklin, without discovering any trace of that ill-fated adventurer.